Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Philly Tech Sistas and Microsoft Reactor Career Panel. Before I introduce our amazing panel, I have a few quick things to go over. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We ask that you be kind and respectful to everyone, including our speakers. We want the reactors to be a place that everyone feels welcome. Please ask questions using the live YouTube chat. We will be taking questions from the audience and would love to answer those for you today. In the chat, we'll also be sharing some links that go along with today's content, and then also some links to our Reactor YouTube page where you can find this recording if you're not able to stay for the whole time or if you want to share it with somebody else afterwards. And then finally, I'll also be sharing a link to our Reactor survey. If you have a few minutes, we greatly appreciate your feedback. I'm now going to bring on our panel and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Turner, and I'm so happy to be here today partnering with Microsoft Reactor. I'm the founder of Philly Tech Sistas, and we help women of color transition into tech by providing coding workshops and professional development events such as this one today. So thank you all and welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, everyone. My name is April Spate, and I am a manager within cloud advocacy here at Microsoft. I lead our spatial computing cloud advocacy team, and I would say I've been at Microsoft now since 2019, but I've been in tech ever since 2013.
Hi, my name is Erica Vilches. I'm Mexican. I live in the US right now, and I've been in Microsoft for about 12 years now. I'm currently a senior data and applied scientist in the Microsoft Learn platform, which has all our documentation and our free training for all our users.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gwen. I'm a cloud developer advocate here at Microsoft for about a year and a half, but I've been in tech since 2014. And yeah, happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Lahini Arnachalam, and I run the platform and growth team for Microsoft for Startups. So we help founders at every stage of their journey get to their next milestone using Microsoft resources. So those of you that are founders, please take advantage of the Founders Hub. So I've been at Microsoft for about 2.5 years, but have spent most of my career in product management at startups for the last 15 years or so.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Moini Sudan and I'm a lead security architect here with Microsoft. I've been in the tech industry for more than 15 years now, and I'm really looking forward to provide you some tips on security and how much security is important today. And thank you for this opportunity. Looking forward to chat in this live session.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Natalia, and I joined the developer division about 1 year ago. I lead the developer experience for JavaScript and Node.js developers. And I have been in tech for it's going to be 18 years, actually. But I come from a completely different career background. Thank you.
Awesome. I think that's everyone. This is just such an amazing panel. Everyone has such different backgrounds and experiences. We get so many questions about, how to make the transition into tech, and people are thirsty to hear from women such as yourselves about how your career journey was. So I'll just jump right into some of the questions that we get. One of our biggest questions is around how to make the actual transition using transferable skills. What are some tips you have on how to look for jobs with transferable skills and how to market yourself when transitioning your career?
I can go first if you'd like.
I think I can take that, Ashley.
I think April or Mohini, please, one of you, I'll just feel free to jump in. And both of you.
Mohini, you can go ahead and go first. I'll go after you.
Sure. Thank you. So I think this question is very interesting, like how you can transition to cybersecurity. So I'll just share my experience. So I started my career as a software engineer, and somehow I felt that security is one of the key areas where, we really want army of women. Talking about the transition, I would recommend some certifications which add-ons value to your current profile. Things like cybersecurity, understanding the basics of security and what are the different best practices we implement in security is a key element, where if you have at least a basic understanding of security, you can adding some certification, doing some online free courses which are available within Azure, which is free of cost. So we will start with that. I think that would be my recommendation around how do you switch your role from zero experience or a fresh start in cybersecurity, is understanding why is security important in 2022. Like, just to give an example, back in days we did not have cloud or any hybrid setup. So right now everything exists on the cloud. People are traveling, and especially during COVID, we have seen a lot of breaches. So that's where we need to understand why security is important and what kind of skills will make a difference to market yourself better in the market. I think over to you, April.
Thank you. So for my background, I came from the luxury fashion industry, and I was a menswear stylist and a visual merchandiser. And I came into tech as a project manager, so vastly different career fields. The first thing that I would say I had to do before I even got to transferable skills was just first humble myself. Because when I went to look for a new job, I was under the impression that I should be able to come in at X salary because I spent X amount of years in my other industry. And for me, that wasn't the reality. So what I ended up having to do after probably applying to over 100 places, I ended up actually having to take a step back. And at the time I had just graduated. So I said, you know what? Let me find an internship that will get me to where I need to get. So for someone watching, you may be past the internship phase, and that's cool. And maybe it's more of a role that might be more junior instead of senior. And so don't feel as though it's a bad thing to come in at a level that someone might think might be lower, because there's always opportunities for growth. So that was the first thing that I had to do. And then the second thing with regards to transferable skills, because a lot of what I did in fashion was working with clients as well as pretty much designing floor sets, it was all project based. So since I wanted a role in project management, as I went into actually getting interviewed, I was able to show how the process that I followed in my day-to-day while working in fashion really outlined with the principles of project management. So being able to use the correct terminology as well to show that comparison, that made a really big difference. And plus, I worked in a role that had a lot of interfacing with people internally, and a lot of that relates to customer service, which is what I did in fashion. So being able to find where those links are, though it might be unconventional in how you link the two, there's ways to try to weave the two together to tell that story, to show that, hey, I might not have X experience on paper, but the things I've done in my past, there is some relation with regards to how it was executed.
I love that. Yes, Erica.
So in my case, it was interesting because it was like on and then off and then back on, in the sense that I'm a computer science engineer. So I technically did study for this. Then I did a master's and started a PhD on artificial intelligence. So everything was looking data sciencey, which was the dream of my life. But then in Mexico, Microsoft doesn't really develop product or do research or apply this type of disciplines. It's more like sales, subsidiary, and all the supporting functions. So evangelism was back then what was most similar to what my skills were, but wasn't really like technical. It was like public speaking and yes, doing a little bit of code, but not really like, and no data back then. So that's, I had to apply the other learnings I had as a computer science engineer to get the job, but it wasn't the job of my dreams. I spent then too long doing technological marketing and community work, which was awesome. And I learned a lot of skills and I built a great network. But then again, it wasn't still data, which is what was my dream. And then I had an opportunity to apply to jobs here, because due to the community, I started meeting a lot of people here in Redmond that was doing the things that I wanted to do. So you start building your network by talking with them, seeing their career paths, more or less what we're doing right here. And then I decided to just go for it and start interviewing. And of course, I didn't get the job. But every time you interview, you can ask for feedback. You ask the person, what am I lacking to be able to get one of these roles? Back then, based on the time I was outside of the data world, big data happened. So go figure, it's not a small thing. So they were like, okay, you know all the algorithms, etc. You can run it in one computer. But what if I need you to run it in a cluster of computers? I was like, so I knew what I was missing by the person who interviewed me. And then I went for online training and looking for opportunities to apply that online learning in my current job. That's the beauty of data. There's always a way to apply it to everything, from biology to marketing, you name it. There's always a way to apply data and make it better. So I went ahead and applied those trainings so I could have like a little bit of tangible experience myself and like applying that learning. And then also what I did is that for these people that interviewed me, I asked them if they could be my mentors. So some of them, of course, accepted. And it was great because then I could get a view of what they do in their own teams and if I had gotten the job, what I would have been working on. And it was sometimes I had an opportunity to help a little bit, to get hands-on what they were doing. And that's just great. It helps you build your network. And of course, when a team like that you've been following for a long time and you've been having a mentor inside of it, when they have an opportunity, an opening, of course, when you apply, you have higher odds to get there. So that's how I transitioned.
Yes, Lainey, go ahead.
I wanted to build off what Erica said about having mentors and a network of people to talk to, because I want to emphasize the importance of this, right? Like, I think you can only get so much from a job description on what skills you actually need for a job. And they all kind of look the same, and we've all written them, I'm sure, and they're challenging to articulate what you're actually looking for. But I think that's the importance of having people that you trust, or building that trust with the person that's either hiring for the role or in that role, just to better understand what's needed to be successful in that role, and then trying to transfer, the skills that you have in the role that you're in or you've had in the past into that different role. So I think that having a network of people to talk to and to learn from is just so important, and building that through whatever means possible, even if it's interviewing and not getting a job, or going to meetups and events like this, I think is very, very important.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to that, because I think there are different roles to allies that we can rely on to move forward or progress our careers. And there are precisely allies that are going to help you move up the ladder. Then there are coaches that are going to help you learn new skills that you may need in your new role. And there are also mentors that may exchange experiences, ideas, and inspire you to, go for certain things that you are trying to accomplish. And identifying the three different roles in people that are around you in your network is very important to progress and accomplish. Yes.
Right.
Hi, so I think there is a question here which I'd like to answer, which is regarding how do I get selected when I'm applying for a security job? I think this is one of the questions our audience want to know. So my take on that is, resume when you're presenting yourself, as Lahani mentioned, that there are a couple of things we mentioned, but more than when we are interviewing candidates, what we see is how much experience hands-on you have in that. By that, I mean that, say, if you're working on security or any of the products, we want to know how much thought process you can put to it. Not exactly, sometimes you have worked in a different product, but if we are looking for something similar, we want to look at the candidate, what kind of thought process you have and how you can bring value to Microsoft security. And that's where I think getting your hands on to Azure fundamentals. I also mentioned a YouTube channel, which is Microsoft security channel, completely free of cost. There are very good videos where you can start learning about what are zero trust principles and different Microsoft basic understanding of what is security all about. And I think that give you understanding when you're interviewing and when you're mentioning that in your resume, that you do have idea about these products, that really catches eye and puts you in front of other applicants. So that would be my recommendation. Start educating yourselves with technology, ramp up on different products Microsoft has to offer. And this channel has very good webinars from our leaders, which is very useful to even listen about products like Defender for Cloud, Sentinel, which are really hot right now.
Wow, that's amazing. That's good to hear. Kenya also says she's transitioned from being a civil engineer to a cloud architect, and they're looking to know what are the next steps for working towards a solutions architect.
So I think I can just, as I said, ramping up your skills is number one thing in security. You need to know what are the different products our customers use, and especially this is a customer facing role. So you need to understand what are the top challenges and which products are hot right now. As I mentioned, two products, Defender for Cloud and Sentinel, where all these architecture is about, and you need to understand what products fit well and have at least a basic level understanding of these products. And going through these webinars, these architectures, and even a lot of documentation is available. If you like to read, I can provide some links where you can read about all these basic principles, zero trust. It can really help you to ramp up your skills, and you can make the transitions once you have gotten through these certifications and even listen to these webinars.
I love that. So one of the suggestions of networking, meeting new people, and finding mentors, allies, and coaches, how do you all suggest that people find those people a part of their networks, allies, mentors? Because they're really important for your career, right? So how do you suggest people find mentors and allies within their network?
So I've had luck with two places. One of them is school. I know, like university. The person who made the recommendation for me to get into Microsoft was a person that was my professor, and then we both lectured in the same university. And that person, I mean, had been my mentor in first at the university, my professor per se, and then my mentor in how like Microsoft life, like it's complex to adapt to corporate life. So he was one of my mentor on how to start in a corporation, and he recommended me. So it's cool, definitely. And then the meetups have been a great place to me, either when you're a presenter and people then approach to you and have nice similar careers to yours, or questions or things that they think that might interest you. So you make great connections in the meetups, or the other way around, when you're an attendee and you see a speaker that has something very similar to you, or like you're interested into learning more about what he has. That's one of the ways I've found.
Absolutely. I was working in different roles across my career as a developer, as a solutions architect myself. But I was working in enterprise, and I wasn't really part of a community outside of the companies I was working for. The moment I started doing public speaking and really being part of communities in a way, in a sense that I give you and I take back, and I give you and I take back, that's when my career really projected and launched to inimaginable height. I would have never imagined a few years ago that I was going to be working for Microsoft. So this is really, really important, to network, to get to know other people in the community, to share knowledge, because believe it or not, it's very likely, no matter what's your career background, you have a lot of things to share with the community, and at the same time, learn from them. And those exchanges are extremely important.
To add to that, about 2 years ago, I started a YouTube channel just to kind of create documentation because I was working as a cloud engineer on a really small team, and we wanted to have videos for the things that we were working on. And then I took to social media to just share. I had maybe like 15 Twitter followers, things like that. But I just shared because I didn't really care. And then from there, or somehow, as someone who used to work at Microsoft, his name is Jeff Holland. He used to be PM on the Azure Functions team, which is now a service that I know very well thanks to his mentorship. He reached out. He said, "These videos are great. Like, I hope you keep doing it." That's it. And that piece of sort of encouragement that I got from him was enough for me to kind of keep going for a while. And then he would like consistently check in every now and then just to see how I'm doing, give me feedback on things like that. So you'll never really know who's going to make an impact in your career, but you kind of got to go for it and put yourself out there. And now that we have all these tools like TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, like there's plenty of different ways and modalities for you to kind of put yourself out there and just see who is willing to, put some back for you and give you advice and help out. I think it's just a lovely place to be in tech now.
Lahini, yes, please.
So one of the things I really want to add for whoever wants to switch to security profile, I think one thing, my personal experience, I would say, listen to these webinars, security webinars. They will give you an idea about what your leaders are talking, especially, in terms of Microsoft Zero Trust. And also what I've done personally is, reaching out to security architects and, requesting them to shadow calls with them. I'm sure you have some teams within the company you currently work. Reach out to your peers and say if you can, sit on those calls to kind of understand what are the top challenges our customers have and what a secure network, secure architecture looks like. That will give you a second set of eyes to look at things differently. And also, I think the documentation which we shared, the YouTube channel has very good material which is live recorded from all these webinars, and they will give you an idea about how to think differently, like a 360 view of what security is about within Microsoft and what principles, security principles we have, how you can, excel your skills 100%. So I think that's what I did when I wanted to ramp up on different security products, what's new in market. I love listening to these webinars, and they're very interactive. They have questions. So I think that will give you a good idea about what's going on in 2022, like if you compare back in the days where cloud never existed. So right now, I think the migration we have, all these companies are taking it very seriously, especially we have seen these ransomware attacks and recent attacks. So all these companies, we have all our global partners, they really want to know about what best we can do in security to make their end-to-end architecture 100% secure. And to get that understanding, you need to reach out to your peers, your security architect, to give you an understanding, at least attend those calls would be really beneficial.
I have one more. In addition to meeting people, the part that some folks tend to fall short on is actually nurturing those relationships once they've been made. Because we can meet people all day and we can identify people by face and name all day long. But if you don't nurture those relationships, then it doesn't really go anywhere beyond just having said, I met someone and, that's it. And it's really important to nurture relationships because you never really know what can come of it. For me, for example, 2 of my jobs I've had since in tech has come from staying in touch with people that I've met, whether it's been on social media or whether they were a vendor that I had worked with at the previous company. And thanks to those 2 relationships that I just kept in touch with, I got 2 new jobs later down the road without even having to interview. So you never truly know what can come other relationships that you really truly hold on to. And what does nurturing actually look like? It can be as simple as reaching out to them maybe 3 months later, 6 months later, check in, see how things are doing. However, I will say people will know if you're being genuine when you are reaching back out just to see how things are, because it's very easy to read people when they're being fake and they just want something from you. So as you are building relationships with people, be as genuine as possible, because you wouldn't want someone being fake and just only wanting to use you for what you have. But nurturing relationships is super important. And I mean, I could not stress enough how that has really taken me super far in my own career.
I love that you said, nurturing those relationships are important. That's actually a really great skill to have, is to be able to create and establish relationships. And so we all know that having, the technical skill of, learning cybersecurity or engineering is essential. And at the same time, you also have to have some soft skills. But how do you sell your soft skills? Your ability to create those relationships, influence stakeholders, your public speaking, communication skills. How do you sell those skills in addition to the new technical skills you may have learned so you can make the transition? Yes, go ahead.
I have a perfect story. It was actually my interview at Microsoft. So the role that I initially had before I came in cloud advocacy, they had been interviewing folks for a while. And when I finally had a chance to interview, the very first question that I had got in one of my loop interviews was, what is it that I would do if I have an idea, but the stakeholders, they disagree with the direction that I want to head in for a project? So for me, the obvious was, well, first, let me hear out what their opposition is. What is it that they feel, why is it that they aren't in agreement? That was the very first step that I said I would take. And then from there, I went on my whole little spiel about what happens after that. After I gave that answer to the interviewer, he looked at me and he said that I was the only person that he had interviewed that actually answered that question correctly, because all the other guys, and he specifically called out guys that he had interviewed and answered that questions, they went right into just trying to force the stakeholders to accept their opinion and their decision and so on and so forth. But soft skills such as listening and just seeking to understand, that's very important in this space. And while there might be some environments that might not praise that sort of attitude, it actually takes you very far. And so just being very mindful and thoughtful with how you are answering questions during the interview process to ensure that you are making sure that your soft skills shine. And so something as for me that I thought was obvious, apparently it wasn't as obvious to a lot of people, but that those soft skills definitely come in handy.
Yes, I wanted to add to that because Kenya is asking about the next steps to working as a solutions architect, and I was a solutions architect for a long while. And I think the best skill a solutions architect can have, obviously the technical part, they need to be very strong, but it's the ability to listen and to ask the right questions, because what you're trying to do is help a customer solve a problem, and you can only do that if you understand their problem, and you can only do that then by asking many questions and letting them speak, letting them show you, and empathizing with their pains as well, because maybe you are going to interpret their problems in a way, and if you are not listening very carefully, you may be missing what is really that they're struggling with. So that aspect of learning to listen is very important. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, Erica.
So in my case, it was the exact opposite. That's why maybe you will find it interesting. So I was complete walking lack of soft skills, with the exception of a little bit of public speaking, because I was working as a professor. So for small groups, I could deal with it. But as soon as you put 200, 300 people somewhere, I was So I was walking no skills. But fortunately, I had the perfect profile for my first job at Microsoft. They were looking for someone to handle the relationship between Microsoft and universities, and I was precisely the target audience. So I got hired despite my lack of soft skills. But the beauty about Microsoft, and I believe all large corporations, is that they help you develop those skills. And you don't have to be on your own for that. So, for example, one of the things that I was missing a lot is how to handle, for press interviews, I had no idea on how to speak to the camera properly, and how to represent Microsoft during an interview with the press. And they hired a training for me to be able to do that type of thing. Then the other thing that I was missing a lot was negotiation skills. There was literally none. How to turn a no into a yes was as soon as you said no, I would come with the greatest idea, and as soon as somebody would say no, I was like, but okay, thank you. You know? But they got me into this great Dale Carnegie training, which is based on the book, so you don't need to look for the training. You can do it on your own with the books, and as long as you find ways to practice in your everyday. But the negotiation skills definitely were something I was lacking, and Microsoft helped me through the Dale Carnegie training to develop them. Saying no was the other thing that was super hard for me. Also, Dale Carnegie training helped me to, like, okay, when something they ask you to do something that really doesn't make sense, you had to say no. It was super hard for me. I think still today it's a little bit hard. I know how to do it, but it still kind of stresses me out a little bit. And the other soft skill I was super missing is small talk, like how to like during meetings or parties or stuff like that, like how to introduce yourself and talk about the weather and non-conflicting subjects, and how to meet people, kind of thing. I was so bad at that. But again, Dale Carnegie came to my rescue, and now I'm a more complete professional thanks to that. So you still can be hired without the soft skills, but it's something that you rather definitely I recommend you get before you get the job, but you can still work on them after.
Gwen or Mahini, did you? Mahini,
I
you can
just
go
want
ahead.
to add one thing, like when you're preparing for the interview. So I think the one of the key things we want you to be very honest, because we interview architects on weekly basis, and I think what makes a difference is number one, obviously we're looking for the right set of skill, but the second thing is how much willingness do you have to learn and ramp up really fast, because we don't expect all the candidates to be ready on the very first day. I think working with a company like Microsoft, you will get good set of support from your team members, from your peers. But I think during the interview process, you really have to show the willingness to accept and ramp up really fast. That we need that enthusiasm and anxiety, like you're really excited about what you're getting into and how much fast you can ramp up and start contributing within the team. So I think that's one of the key areas I would really recommend. Like prep yourself for the interview, look at the role requirements, read about there's a lot of documentation out there, and prep for the interview. At the same time, have that willingness inside to learn new skills every day, because security is changing every day. So it's like you really have to keep your toes on what's latest and what's new. And I think all my women co-peers would agree that in security we really have to keep ourselves updated with new technology and keep doing new set of certifications and have that hunger to learn. So that's something. Thank you.
I want to transition a little bit over to Lahini to hear more about Microsoft for startups. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Ashley. So, Microsoft for Startups is a program where we allow any founder in the world, so that could be anyone with just an idea all the way to someone that has a product in market that's scaling to customers, to help them get started with Microsoft and take advantage of all the resources we have, including things like Azure Cloud Credits, M365, but also things like GitHub Enterprise and LinkedIn Recruiter and other things that startups need to get to their next milestone. So we're not just thinking about how do we give startups access to a bunch of free stuff, which is really helpful, of course, when you're trying to build a business and you want to keep costs low. But we're also thinking about how do we give startup founders access to the important resources they need to ship their first product or to build a team. And so we're really thinking through some of these things that we mentioned earlier today around building a network and mentors. And so we have technical support offerings and architecture reviews for these startup founders products, but we also have a mentor network that will give founders access to go-to-market expertise or expertise around hiring or how to build your first product. So we're really thinking through a more holistic value proposition on how we make these founders successful. And so for those of you that are starting a company or thinking about starting a company, please go to startups.microsoft.com and sign up for the Founders Hub, and we would love to get started working with you.
So, Lahini, tell us what are some of the early issues that you see startups run into, some of the challenges that they often have, and how do you all help them with those?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oftentimes, when you talk to startup founders, especially startup founders that are from more non-traditional backgrounds or ones that are from historically, underrepresented backgrounds, it's very early on. It's around the confidence to take the leap to get started, and it's really hard, right? Especially, I would say, female founders when they are thinking through like starting a company. What we've noticed from doing several interviews of these folks is that they need to feel overqualified before they take that leap. And I'm sure Ashley, you've seen this with your community as well. It's like, how many things can I do to be ready to start my company? Whereas, a male counterpart there would not have that attitude. They just go for it. So that's kind of one thing that we've noticed. So it's like imposter syndrome and all of those things that we've seen kind of repeatedly across the board. And then there are like some shared challenges that founders have. So one is financing, right? How do we make sure that um, you have money to survive the next 1 to 2 years, especially when you're doing this very risky thing, quitting your job maybe to start your company and you're starting to hire people. That's very important. The second is around accelerating the time it takes to actually ship an MVP. So really thinking through like how do you get something to market as quickly as possible? And then the third is around access to a network of people that are going to help you get to that next milestone, right? So there are people like you that are going through the same things, or someone that's been there, done that before, or someone that's very complementary to your skill set. You might be an engineer, but you need someone that's good at sales. So those are all the three major challenges that we're seeing from our very, very early stage founder. And it kind of resounds throughout. And so we're really thinking through like how do we give these folks opportunities for that. So I mentioned the mentor network, which allows us to give people access to a network of startup advocates that want to help them, right? So that's a great way to forge these relationships. We're also really thinking about how to take Microsoft technology and apply it to startup use cases so that you can actually accelerate the time it takes to get that product to market. So those are some of the things that we're offering as a part of the Founders Hub, and would love to work with you as you're thinking about getting started on that journey.
That's awesome. April, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add, since we're talking about startups in general, and also as we're talking about transitioning into tech, I will definitely encourage folks to go apply for roles at startups as well. And I know for a lot of folks who are coming into tech, they see the big tech companies and they're like, I want to go to the big Fortune 5, whatever companies, Fortune 100, whatever. And that's fine. However, working in a startup environment, you're going to gain so many skills because you wear so many hats. And to me, they're all fabulous hats. So it's a really great opportunity to really build up your experience working that environment. Before moving out to California, when I was in Virginia, I worked for a startup. And even though my role was a project manager, I still had so many other tasks that I also did. And that gave me even more skills. And it also allowed me to learn about certain parts of the business that I personally would have never ventured out to on my own to just go learn. But because it was part of the job, it really helped make me more of a well-rounded person. So I say that to say, if you are at a point right now where you've already been job searching and you come across companies that you may never have heard of, please still apply. These companies are okay. It's definitely a good opportunity to apply and work at startups. And you might find, honestly, that you probably like working more at startups instead of working at the larger tech companies, because I have friends who have also made that transition from big tech to startups instead. And also, not all startups are small. So the one that I worked for, I think we had about 30 employees. But then there's some that are going to be larger. And there's some names that you already might be familiar with that are actually still considered startups, but they just happen to be a little bit bigger just with regards to how they scaled. So I just wanted to put that out there. Do not be afraid of startups. Do apply to them. It's definitely worth it. So that was what I wanted to add.
Yeah, and definitely. And I also wanted to ask that we were talking about transferable skills before. when you join a startup, and because of what April said, that you have to wear many hats, if you come from a different background, you probably come with a lot of knowledge that other folks in the team don't have and that you can potentiate. So every team, regardless of it's a startup or it's a big tech team, they more or less have the same kind of dynamics. You need people that are very hands-on, that are very technical, then you need people that are more of the communicator type, and you need people that go out there to talk with the customers. And when you join a startup, maybe you can use those skills, maybe no, 100% you can use skills that you bring with you from a different career background in ways that you never imagined also, and help, you know, your own team in ways that also they didn't imagine. So it's a really great advice, and it's a really great environment to start your tech career in. Yeah.
Mohini, I saw your hand up earlier. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think I really like what April and Nicolia said. I think one thing I want to add is I really like the idea how April mentioned wearing multiple hats, which is very important in any industry you go. So as when I started my career, I've also done roles like project management for a while when one of my peers had some last minute emergency. So wearing multiple hats is really important because it will help you get more skilled in terms of not just security, because in this line, this is a customer facing. Most of the time, you're fixing your customer's problem, and if you have worked in different areas, not just security, you'll have that understanding better. So I think I 100% agree to that. Wear multiple hats, and even if you're working with the customer, try to understand where they're coming from, put yourself in their shoes, so that it's not only helps you gain more knowledge but more visibility to what's going on around you. And I think starting with the startup would really give you that opportunity, because the role is just not defined to one area. It has a broader spectrum, broader ecosystem, where you get to do multiple things at the same time. And I think that's a very good learning for somebody who's really kicking starting their career within security. So that's what I wanted to add.
That's great. I
Ashley, I'm not sure we can hear you. No, not yet.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I want to take it back to what Lahini said earlier about how Microsoft for Startups helps founders gain the confidence to just start, right? And so as career transitioners, a lot of times both founders and job seekers are combating imposter syndrome. And how have you all, it's something that we all struggle with. So how do you all overcome it to get to where you are today?
I can start. So one thing that I've heard later on in my career, while it wasn't necessarily said directly in response to me, but it was in response while discussing someone else, was realizing and understanding that once you're hired because the company felt confident in your skills and your ability. They felt that you could do the job. They didn't hire you as a big joke. They hired you because they felt like you could actually do your role. And hearing that really put some things into perspective, because it's very easy to get not easy to get the job, but it's very easy that once you get the job, you get settled in, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh my goodness, someone's going to find out that I don't know XYZ, blah, 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 blah. And for whatever reason, we let that eat us up so much. But just remembering that first and foremost, we got hired. And so therefore the company felt that we could actually do the job. Now, what you do from that time, from being hired to actually doing the job, there's many different routes you can take. But if you do run into a situation where you are handed a task and it's just like, this is way beyond my skill set, what I found to be very helpful is to seek resources to help you learn, because once you're in tech, there's always opportunities to learn stuff, and you will run across things that you might know absolutely nothing about. My first 6 months here at Microsoft, I ended up being handed a project that was more .NET focused. And prior to that, I had only done things Python related. So it was all new territory for me. And I know I could have sat and sulked and felt like, scared that someone was going to find out I didn't know anything about .NET. But instead, I went and I found resources to help me out, so that way I can be a better PM for the project that we were working on. And being able to take that initiative to go learn made a big difference, because then once I came into conversations with people who were higher level than me to speak about the features that we were working on, I could actually more or less speak their language. I felt more confident going into those conversations. So rather than sit in my own sadness and despair and feel like I couldn't do it, I had to take the initiative to go learn. And I know it can also be a bit challenging to also speak up when you feel as though you don't have a certain skill set for something. As a manager, I will, and this is just me as a manager, I'd rather you come to me and tell me that you find something challenging rather than keep it to yourself and then you never get to a point where you're able to make progress. Because as managers, we're also there to ensure that you are developing professionally as well, and that includes your skill set. So we're able to also provide resources for you too. Not everyone's going to have a manager that they might get along with, but hopefully you do. And if that is the case, if you are feeling a bit unsure about the work you're doing or what you should be doing, do speak with your manager. We're here to actually help you build yourself up. And so rather than just keep things to yourself, definitely reach out and seek help. And then your confidence will come over time from there.
Does anyone else want to add?
Yeah, to add to that, I would say I used to compare myself a lot to other people's careers and progressions, and I would say kind of, try to figure out whatever my next move is, and I would kind of use other people as a reference. And I quickly learned that was a mistake, because at the end of the day, no one has to work the job or the career that I'm in except for myself. So why would I make decisions based on how other people progress and whatnot? So I think as soon as you lean into is really like trusting your intuition and obviously being honest with yourself and leaning into the feedback that peers and managers can provide to you, or even like family members, people that you trust, all those great things, you'll start to like really appreciate like your own journey, and then understanding how unique you are. Because even with learning, like if April and I sat with a book to learn something, maybe it works for April, but it doesn't work for me because my way of learning is different, and that's completely fine. Putting in the work to understand what works for you is going to be way better for your progression and way better for your career. And then obviously having peers to motivate you, to inspire you, that's great. But understand that you are uniquely yourself.
Very well said. And I think to add to that, one thing which is very important is believe in yourself. I think if you start believing yourself that you can land up in a big gig, I think that's the way to start. If you're going for an interview, just think in your mind that you're going to make it. And I think that's the insight. If you're ready, your mind is strong, you're going to make it. So I think when I wanted to shift to completely cybersecurity, it wasn't easy. Preparing for the interview and getting selected out of 900 applicants wasn't easy. And as you know, all these big tech giants, the interview process, they really need to know, like you have to stand out among many applicants. So I think the number one thing is like when you start believing yourself, and as my co-member just said, that stop comparing yourself with other. You have your own charm and your own set of qualities which you want to take forward, and start believing in yourself is one of the key points in any field. You're not just IT or cybersecurity, in any field. As if your mind is strong, you can do whatever you want to achieve in life and be successful.
Sorry. No. Go ahead, Erica.
So,
You're welcome.
It's been interesting. Imposter syndrome has been something that has followed me always, like every step of my life. So sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on what I'm doing. And what I've realized in my head is it's something about fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like at the beginning, you feel like a big joke, like I cannot really be doing this. Like who hired me? Why they hire me? You know, all those insecurities. But you know, as April was saying, like just like fake it till you make it, and then you believe in yourself. Like every day, it's one day at a time type of thing. And the very first time I felt it was when I graduated as an engineer. I was like, oh, an engineer, me? Who are you talking to? Me? So it's I don't know why it's so hard to believe that good things that we get to do awesome things. But one of the things that have helped me to get over it is, well, time. Like one at a time, literally. Eventually it fades. And then when you change, especially when you change profession radically, it starts again and it's hard to deal with. But like give it time, fake it till you make it. Psychological therapy has also helped me, as well as workshops for self-esteem, self-love, to believe in yourself, and especially to get over your insecurities. Like in my case, public speaking was a large insecurity, or recording videos, stuff like that was large insecurity. So getting in workshops to develop those things that make you feel the most insecure has helped me. And the mentors too, because they're the people who know what are you capable of, what are you missing, and they're like a realistic view of yourself from outside of yourself. So mentors have been something that historically has helped me to get over this imposter syndrome. I get a more realistic view of what I'm actually missing than me freaking out all the time, like, why am I here? Why would they even choose me? Stuff.
Yeah, I feel the same. And I have a big crisis every 6 months. I'm like, "Oh, I'm a failure. I'm fake. What am I doing here? They're going to find out." And I think it's very important to believe in yourself, and also surround yourself with people that believe in yourself and remind you every day how worthy you are and why you're here and how you made it. I have a friend that once I was talking to him and I was saying like, yeah, I don't know, they're going to find out that I cannot do this. And he was like, they're going to find out after so many years, like you're super good at lying. Like you should put that in your resume, really. How did you make it all these years? That's a skill, right? So yes, it's all about making sure that you go back to see all your list of accomplishments after a while, even if they are not like a super long list. Like April said, if they hired you, no matter where, it's because they saw value in you, and you have to keep that in your mind and continue to provide that value. And another thing that is really helpful to overcome imposter syndrome is to learn to say, I don't know. When you learn to say, I don't know, that takes a weight off your shoulders that you don't need to know everything, and you're still going to be fine. There's an opportunity to learn and to get better. So that's another advice from me.
I love that. That's a great little nugget. Learn to say, I don't know, and ask for help. It sounds like getting help from your mentors or your networks, or even like Erica suggested, therapy. Those all help shift your mindset so that you can overcome some of those mental hurdles. I just have one more question I quickly want to ask April. You mentioned management, and someone asked, how do you build relationships with senior management when you may feel insecure or intimidated? What is the best approach for overcoming that so you can build the best relationship with your manager? Because ultimately, like you said, managers want to see you grow and develop.
So there's two ways to think about it. One is with your own manager, and then one is with managers who aren't your manager, but they are senior and they are considered managers. So for people who are your actual direct managers, being able to meet with them and have conversations with them and be, I want to say, it's kind of a loaded question for me to answer that one, because it really does come down to the manager. I hate to lie to you all and say all managers are the same, because we're not. And so the time that you spend with your manager, really get an idea to get to figure out who they are, how they are as well. And that can really help determine what the best ways are to have conversations with folks. Now, granted, as managers at Microsoft, we all have the same manager training. It's required. You're supposed to do it. What managers do with that information once they then go manage, that's going to definitely vary. But I would say from my own experience as a manager, once I had gotten my new team that I started managing a year ago, I actually just had a non-work related conversation with everyone to get to know more about that person, get to know more about you. I don't want to learn about what you did last week. I want to know more about who you are as an individual, because that's going to help start to, for me, figure out what are the best ways to approach conversing with you. And, you know, if something like bad happened, what's the best way for me to talk about that versus something good happens? How do you want that to be acknowledged? Being able to have those conversations with your manager is going to make a really big difference in your career. But I will say it does come down to the type of manager that you have, because we all definitely are going to be different. Now, with regards to senior managers, in terms of more or less getting to get to know them more as well, when I first started out in tech, my manager actually, the project that she gave to me required me to actually go to all senior leadership to get some project requirements from them. So I was just thrown into the fire. I had no choice. I had to go figure it out, and I did. But I'm very happy that I did that, and I didn't back down from that, because it gave me the exposure that I needed. So I share that to say, if there are opportunities for you to gain that exposure with senior staff, take it. And sometimes, you know what, don't even wait for it, volunteer for it if you happen to hear there's an opportunity, because the more you're able to get yourself in front of these individuals, it's definitely going to be great, especially if we start talking about things related to like promotions and such as well. And just the way things work here at Microsoft, it's really important to make sure that you have that level of awareness with them as well. But over time, it also builds confidence in speaking with senior management as well. I feel like if my very first job in tech did not require me to go speak with senior leadership, I don't know how long it would have taken me to feel comfortable in front of them. But because week one, that's what I had to go do. I mean, the week before I was folding t-shirts in fashion, and the next week I'm going to visit all the folks who are like much higher up in the company. It was definitely I have to figure this out now, but it got me to a point where I felt comfortable doing that. Whereas now for me, it's just second nature. I see it no different as communicating with other individuals, but it takes time, but also volunteering for those opportunities where you can get yourself in front of those people. And if you are handed an opportunity to do so, don't back down, prepare for it, and then continue to do it every time there's an opportunity. I forgot who said earlier, I think Erica had mentioned that time is with regards to imposter syndrome is what it takes to overcome it. The same thing with being more confident and feeling more comfortable speaking with senior managers and even your own manager as well. It does take time, but it is possible though.
Thank you. That's really great advice. Mohini, I see your hand is up. Yes.
So I just, that's off topic. So I think someone asked a question around what's the growth area around 2023. So I tried, I think we can share this documentation. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are already making a big impact on how people work and socialize. So I think that's where I would say we see high growth impact on these two areas. So I just want to answer that question.
Yes, I love that question. Thank you for putting that in the chat. Does anyone else have anything to add about what do you see the growth areas of 2023 are? And if not that, then what parting advice do you have for people, women, people of color looking to transition into tech? Yes.
So I think the only thing I want to add to all the women out there, I think we need an army of women in cybersecurity and tech. So I think believe in yourself and start preparing, start educating yourself towards tech, and all the best with what you do. And we welcome all these women out there. We're calling them to join our army of tech and be successful in their life. So I would wish them all the best.
Thank you.
I have something for my advice. It aligns with something that Gwen said earlier, but has to do with comparing yourself to others. One thing I always leave people with is to stay in your own lane. As you're on this journey in your career, stay in your own lane. What do I mean by that? Don't worry about the fact that it took someone over here 3 days to find a job, but it's taking you 3 months to find an interview. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all, because we're all on our own journeys. But the second you start letting everyone else influence how you view yourself, that's when things can start to go downhill. So I always tell people, stay in your lane, focus on yourself, and you'll be okay.
I love
One
that.
other thing I would add, just to tack on to that, is also don't underestimate the value of a really good attitude and being excited about an opportunity. It's very, very important to show that enthusiasm, and it's very valued, especially as a hiring manager.
I know we're at 1 o'clock. Anyone else?
You got this. To wrap it up, you totally got this.
You got this. That is perfect to end on that note. Thank you all. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you all for viewing, and thank you all at Microsoft for participating and answering all of our members' questions. Yes, lots of love. We'll post this, or Microsoft Reactor will post this online. So if you didn't get a chance to view in real time, there's some really great nuggets here. So I hope you get a chance to listen, to look and listen again. So thank you all. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you soon.
Thank
Join
you.
us Thursday. We'll have a demo of Microsoft Azure. So if you're curious about the cloud, please tune in. Tune in Thursday, same time, same place. See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.